71.1 of all television sets in the US of A watched Lucy from I Love Lucy give birth to Little Ricky, a record that still stands to this very day. Peter Pan premieres. Sir Edmund Hillary of New Zealand and Tenzing Norgay from Nepal become the first men to summit Everest. The year is 1953, and this car was the halo car of a very conservative, some will say economy car company, Nash Motors. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that takes the time to cover cars off the beaten path. We cover the classics, vintage, some exotics. We love the orphan cars or car brands that you don't really hear about. They're not really around anymore. We dive in deep on history, specs, design, but most importantly, we show what these cars are like. If that sounds like a channel that you will totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. 1953 Nash model lineup. You had the Rambler, followed by the Statesman, followed by the Ambassador, and then at the top was the Nash Halo car, the Nash Healey, which could be had as a two-door roadster or two-door Le Mans hardtop. It's important to note, the hardtop car is slightly bigger than the Roadster in every way. Nash offered the Healey from 1951 through 1954. It was a joint venture between Nash Calvinator and British auto company Healey. As the story goes, in December of 1949, Donald Healey sailed to America on the Queen Elizabeth. He planned on meeting with General Motors to get a supply of the new Cadillac V8. Healey wanted to use that engine in the Silverstone Club Racer. At that point, there were two built. While on board the Queen Elizabeth, Healey ran into a guy with a sophisticated stereo camera, which totally intrigued Healey. George W. Mason, president of Nash, was the guy with the funky camera. Both Mason and Healey had an interest in photography and would become acquainted over the hobby. Mason would hear of Healey's GM engine supply negotiations and said, if the negotiations go south, the door is open for you to come to Nash to fulfill your engine needs. GM would ultimately turn down Healey over defense commitments. Healey then contacted Mason to say, I'm in, let's build a car. The Nash Healey was born. As part of the deal, Nash paid off Healey's 50,000 pound bank debt, which would be repaid to Nash in the form of car sales. The first prototype was shown at the Paris Auto Show in October of 1950. The official car debuted in 1951 at the Chicago Auto Show, formerly known as the Nash Healey Series 25. 1951, Nash Healey is America's first sports car, if you don't count the Curtiss Craft or the Munch Jet or the Crosley Hotshot. Nash would send over the drivetrains, about half a dozen at a time, to Healey, and Healey would put them into a modified Healey Silverstone box section chassis, added dual side draft SU carburetors, and the body was going to be made out of aluminum. That part of the business was outsourced to a Birmingham-based company, Panelcraft Sheet Metal Company. Only 104 Nash Healeys were built the very first year. Both George Mason and Donald Healey wasn't too happy with the quality from Panelcraft, the company that made the body shells. So Mason had Pininfarina of Turin, Italy, redesign it. The Italian company would also build the bodies. Split windshield in 51 went to a single piece in 52. So just to be clear, the Nash Healey was offered in two generations. The first generation was only 1951, and it was built in Warlock, England. Second generation, 1952 through 1954 in Turin, Italy. Nash and Hudson merged in 1954, and that was more or less the end of the Nash Healey, dropped to focus on the more bread and butter cars. But there were a few cars planned to follow this one. Both of these cars are concept cars, and why they didn't make them is beyond me. But the first one we're going to talk about is the Wisp. Just look at the body design. Doesn't that look like a late 50s Corvette to you? It definitely looks like that to me. What a stellar design that they didn't do anything with. And this is probably my favorite concept car, or at least one of them, the Palm Beach. This is a concept car that I would really like to do for the channel. It kind of sort of looks like a dual gear in the front, in my opinion. I think that this car is drop dead gorgeous, and why they didn't make it is beyond me. There was also a partnership of Alvis and Healey, with only 25 examples of that car being produced. Let's talk specs. 170.8 inches long, 64 inches wide, 48 inches tall. It rides a wheelbase of 102 inches. It weighs around 3,000 pounds. Price, $6,000, which is equivalent to you spending $69,166.07 the year 2023. The price tag is why they didn't make that many of these. This almost costs twice as much as a Corvette. 1953 Nash production was 121,793 units, of which total Nash Healey for 1953 was 166 units. Of that number, 104 were convertibles, 62 were the hardtop coupe. Moving on to engine, only one engine on offer, 252 cubic inch displacement, overhead valve, inline 6, 4.1 liters. It's good for 140 horsepower at 4,000 RPM, 230 pound-feet or 312 Newton meters at 2,000 RPM, with a bore of 3.5 inches and a stroke of 4.4 inches. Compression is 825 to 1. When backed with a 3-speed Borg Warner T86E, manual transmission, optional overdrive, 0 to 60 could be had in 10.2 seconds. Theoretical top speed 111 miles per hour while achieving an average 15.9 miles to the gallon. It does the quarter mile in 17.5 seconds at 79 miles per hour. Let's talk styling. Look at these bumpers. Look at how this part here is raised. Overriders. Now, I was told that these bumpers are the same bumpers used on the Ambassador. They're just cut down. So they cut them here. And they also cut the overriders and or bumperettes so they don't detract from the headlights. Running lights and our turn signals. This is the hood release. Just look at how this is all designed. This one has 2 mirrors mounted on the fenders. Beautiful hood scoop here. This one's got like a cowl vent for the weather eye. Also, look at how this windshield is designed. It mimics like cars from like the teens and 20s. How it comes out and up. Also notice how the windshield is pushed out. Just look at how smooth this design is. It's got this raised panel here. It's not quite the rocker, it's just above it. That goes back to the tire bulge back there. These come out, and that's where you're supposed to jack the car up at. There's one there, and there's one over there. There's 2 on the other side in the same location. Notice this does not have gravel guards. Absolutely love this. Also, the wheel wells are not flared, they're just rolled. Beautiful wire wheels. Just take a closer look at these lines. Also, look at how close the rear fender bulge is to the door. Very interesting. I absolutely love the rear fender design on this car. It's absolutely gorgeous. Notice how it tapers back into the false vents at the top of the fender there. Also notice how smooth the side profile is until you get down to the belt line. Absolutely gorgeous car. How it has these fake scoops.
That all fixed up and ran it. We actually had a station wagon from Hollywood Little that we cut down.
The overriders in the rear are taller.
Put him in the back because I mean, remember with a car seat,
License plate light.
over the seat and everything else. Yeah. We were born to Louisiana. Kelly?
Gas doors on the driver's side.
Yeah.
Look at these small, petite tail lights.
Everything. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Horses.
So just take a look at this door panel. This is the door handle to get out. It's got a nice...
You would push that down to get out.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's how you get out. But then you don't use it to close it. You pull back here.
Nice pocket there.
It's got tools in there.
Take a look at down inside this pedal box. Handbrake, high beam switch.
Starter switch, that tab on the clutch is what activates the starter.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's standard Nash.
Clutch, brake, gas pedal. Look at the shifter, how small that is. They literally took the shifter off of the column and stuck it on the floor. Take a look at this interior.
It's up, it's down.
So it's telescoping steering wheel. Before Ford did it.
So let's see, I usually have it probably about there.
How cool.
So, and that's the wipers, headlights, lighter man, and then there's a under the hood, there's a courtesy light under there, and it's the one switch.
Where's the headlights at?
This one.
Nice. On to the rest of the button switches and knobs. Starting on the left and moving right, notice the two beads on the side of the dash/cowl area. You can only see that when the door is open. Just thought that that's different. Turn signals. Two gauge pods sit directly in front of the driver in the first gauge pod, which was taken from the Ambassador. Speedometer at the top. Just below that, odometer. There are three smaller pods inside for oil pressure, gas gauge, coolant temperature. The other gauge pod has a tack and a vacuum pressure gauge, ashtray, key. Under the hood is the dual jet fire engine taken from the Ambassador line of cars. Oil filter is outside the block. Two side draft carburetors, overhead valve engine, 6-volt battery is also under the hood. Generally, they're found in the floor in this era of car. On the positive side, first American sports car. It beats out all of the others. Kaiser Darren, Corvette. Most will say the Thunderbird is a personal luxury car, but that is debatable. Larger engine than the 51 or 52. A genuine GT car. Fine handling. A milestone car. Against it, they are not cheap and they don't come up for sale very often. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. Two scenarios today. In the first scenario, would you rather have a 1953 Kaiser Darren or a 1953 Nash Healey or 1953 Chevy Corvette? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Moving on to the second scenario, money, no object. Would you rather have a 1953 Mutz Jet or 1953 Nash Healey or 1953 Jaguar XK120. Once again, going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. Gives you the opportunity to share your ride stories and experiences. If you'd like to send me something more intimate, send it through email, all of which will be linked in the description below. Just know that I appreciate everything that you guys bring in the comment section. And until next time, toodaloo! When you drink enough of my beer, there's a tiny room. Go on, buds, drink my suds till you've reached that pure inebriation.